Good morning to the honorable ministers of the council, members of the media, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide, online and TV 15 viewers. I'm Rolika Roach and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment, and Infrastructure, Egbert Duran, to address you. Minister Duran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning to you. Good morning, Prime Minister, members of the media, the COM supports team, and a special good morning to the people of St. Martin that are tuned in. I would like to touch on a few points. Due to the recent heavy rainfall, we have seen an increase in levels of our ponds. In an effort to get the levels down to an acceptable height, we have been utilizing the Great Bay opening. Yesterday, we also enlisted the help of the fire department to provide us with additional pump. This pump is being used at our pump's house in Sucker Garden. As such, we had to build a temporary speed bump across the road to help protect the hose that is taking the water to the Rolandos Canal. We urge motorists to take heed to the signs to slow down when passing this area. The ministry has two large stormwater pumps, one located at the Vrummy Yard and the other one located at Sucker Garden. Both pumps were damaged due to salt corrosion due to the design of the pumps. The pump at Sucker Garden Road, its pumping station, is damaged beyond repair. The pump at the Vrummy Yard has an internal hydraulic oil leak. Both pumps are in the process of being replaced through the cooperation with the Dutch government and the water management experts. The current budget of the ministry for pumps is geared towards maintenance and not sufficient to replace these pumps. The tender for the replacement project, with the help of the Dutch government, is already in process, particularly with the Ministry of BZK. In regards to obstruction in the trenches, while the cleanup work has been carried out, last week we noticed some persons still discard their garbage incorrectly. In this instance, it resulted in the waterways and trenches being blocked. One example was a major water runoff being blocked with a refrigerator, resulting in the road flooding in the vicinity of the Horsey Lake Ballpark. In other areas, remove old TVs, tires, and other household appliances. I would like to remind everyone of the right way to dispose of such items is to bring them to the landfill. The opening hours of the landfill are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. from Monday to Saturday, and on Sundays, 6 a.m. to 12 noon. On another note, this was also mentioned prior to the start and also published. I did not receive the opportunity to publicly congratulate the entire Ministry of Vrummy on their recent integrity training. These information sessions from the Integrity Chamber was based towards integrity in the workplace. They were carried out by the Integrity Chamber between October 26 to 28. The sessions were requested by the ministry with the purpose of enhancing integrity within the workplace. Information about the tasks and activities of the Integrity Chamber, as well as benefits of integrity, the type of integrity issues that can occur, and how integrity can be promoted and maintained in Vrummy, were included in the sessions. The sessions were presented by the staff of the Integrity Chamber, Ms. Gabby Fuchs and Ms. Abana Brown. I just want to express my appreciation to the Integrity Chamber and once again the staff for participating in this training. This concludes my opening remarks, and I look forward to any questions members of the media might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Sylvia Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Rolika. Good morning to you. Good morning to my colleague, Minister Duran. Good morning to the members of the media here present and those following, as well as good morning to the people of St. Martin and all following this broadcast. I'd like to take this time this morning to notify that both Minister Justice as well as ECYS are off island. Minister Justice is attending a Geneva Convention, and Minister of ECYS traveled today with a delegation also of members of Parliament from both St. Martin and Curacao for Statia Day. So as such, I'd like to take the time to wish all people of Statia a very happy Statia Day today, November 16th. Wishing you all the blessings of a very happy and safe day. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to travel, but I trust that the celebrations will be of a wonderful nature. We look out to the social media posts, etc., about that during today. I'd also like to take this time to wish everyone and blessed and hope that they had a blessed passing of St. Martin Day. St. Martin Day was celebrated last Friday. The past week was a combination of a lot of work between the north and south of our island, between our delegations and all stakeholders to ensure that the celebration was a wonderful one. St. Martin Day was our Unity Day, was celebrated and hosted by our French counterparts in French Quarter, where all of the official ceremonies took place, the usual church service, wreath laying, and a special unfurling of the St. Martin Unity flag took place, as well as uniformed and cultural parade, the usual speeches, and of course the cultural celebrations, whereby, of course, St. Martin food, drinks, snacks, games, etc., took place, and performances of St. Martin artists. So I would like to, and games. So there were also football games that took place at the location. But of course, you know, we have our around the island relay races, bike races, and all of the other celebrations that took place in Grand Cause, here at the Festival Village with the food sale, and all throughout the island. So I'm hoping, first of all, thanking our northern partners for hosting us, their hospitable welcome and service throughout the day. And I trust that all of the persons who, you know, made it their business to turn their hand that day to celebrate the culture of St. Martin were able to have a successful day, and that the people as well enjoyed it. During the festivities, both myself and President Mussington, flanked by our ministers of culture, signed a memorandum of understanding that will allow the St. Martin Unity flag to be used as an official cultural symbol. It is a goal that we officially recognize all other symbols that we share with our French counterparts as we celebrate being the unique one island, one people, one destiny, even though we're made up of two different nations. Of course, people can follow the footage on our Facebook pages and that of the St. Martin government, as well as Parliament's YouTube channel. Last week was quite a busy one. We had the launch of the St. Martin Development Vision from the Ministry of General Affairs. That was a very successful event as well that took place over 3 days at the Royal Ballroom at the Simpson Bay Resort. It is a launch that was a celebration of a vision being made into reality, filled with inspirational presentations from not just civil servants, but stakeholders throughout our community. Saw a very heavy influence from the youth as well as females, so gender equity and involving the youth as part of the Sustainable Development Goals was very high on the agenda. And those who have missed it can go to our Facebook page, where you'll be able to download a copy of the NDV by either typing NDV into the search bar or finding it on the Ministry of General Affairs, Department of Interior and Kingdom Relations, BUC, St. Martin National Development Vision 2020 to 2030 and beyond. There you'll be able to see, download, read. I encourage you to do it. This is our long-term vision under which all projects and programs fit with what we are doing. This also includes the prioritization that we have within our country package. So it's not the country package leading the country's development, but our vision leading what is prioritized within the country packages. So I look forward to us being able to share via the dashboard as well, that you can click on at any time to see the progress of projects, programs, development of legislation, plans of approach, and the like, until we achieve the vision, which is for part and parcel for the people of St. Martin. I want to inject something that actually falls by TEAD, but affects us all. The census that is ongoing. A lot of persons, the minister has mentioned this in previous press briefings, are not participating as required. What is this information being used for? A lot of things that we have not been able to do as a country is because of a lack of data. Something coming out of the National Development Vision presentations was lack of data, lack of data, lack of data. Without the data, you can't make the proper policy decisions, what is needed for the country. So we can sit in our corners, we can stay on social media and complain, or we can fill out and participate in the survey, not the survey, the census, the official census of the government of St. Martin, so we have the necessary data. to adjust the things that need to be adjusted so that we can put the quality of life of our people where it needs to be. So with that, as leader of government, I encourage each and everyone who has been approached by the census to please participate. It takes a short time. It's shorter than you think now that we've gone digital, but they have to be at your home to do that. And that information will be used to determine how much schools we need, what types of sporting programs we need, what type of healthcare is needed, how many people we actually have living, and how the cost of living is affecting you. So please cooperate with our Ministry of TIAD's trained personnel who are out there carrying out our census. On the 17th of November, the NATEX will take place. It's an annual national exercise for disaster management training. A preparatory meeting for the exercise took place with the ESF coordinators on Tuesday, November 15th, yesterday. During said session, the coordinators were informed about the goals of the exercise, provided with a refresher on the EOC procedures and information management on the decision-making process. This is very much needed, as we've seen that, with the heavy rainfall that we recently had, that there sometimes is like, who's actually responsible, because it's not declared a disaster up front. So we really want to ensure that we are reacting timely, that we are well prepared. And so these trainings are heavily needed. And a mock scenario has been developed, and the teams of the ESF teams and the EOC will become aware of this during the exercise. It's being coordinated by VNGI through the Fostering Resilient Crisis Management FRCM project, and it's funded by the EU Resembid program, which is executed by Expertise France. This falls also under the Department of Kingdom Relations and the Interior. CARILEC was launched on February 10th, 2022. It is the Caribbean Resiliency and Energy Efficiency Project. It aims to strengthen economic resilience and reduce financial vulnerability of the Caribbean's electricity sector. The project will involve several interventions in 6 overseas countries and territories, OCTs, among which are Anguilla, BVI, Cayman Islands, St. Martin, Montserrat, and the Turks and Caicos Islands. This includes the implementation of regional public education and awareness programs centered on household energy conservation measures. So we all know with the high cost of energy, we're doing everything we can to reduce our carbon footprint, but that also comes with, saving energy, using as little as possible. And there will be also online trainings for professionals on the provision of new sustainable energy services. So looking at business opportunities, etc., this would be then an area for you as an entrepreneur to pick up. An e-learning platform developed and operated under the project will also train and guide Caribbean households to conduct energy self-audits and reduce their monthly electricity bills. More information would be provided in a press release on this matter, but I'm just really highlighting that there are several factors and actors that have to be enabled so that we can actually reach to that level we want to reach by 2030 and 2050, where we're not so reliant on heavy fossil fuels. I want to also take this time, and I'm going to wrap up just now, to congratulate the Ministry of ECYS and specifically the Sports Department, National Sport Institute, and the Olympic Federation for the very successful Brown Pelican Awards that were held, sports awards that were held on Sunday. It saw the recommendations or the commendations honoring of our local heroes in the area of basketball, as well as athletes from 8, under 13, under 18, adults, and then also a special segment for professionals. So we would like to congratulate all nominees, first of all, because in that aspect, you're already a winner. But of course, congratulations to the ones that received the awards, to the teams, to the sponsors, and all the stakeholders that make sports possible on St. Martin. A lot more needs to be done. That has been acknowledged. But of course, having the people on the ground doing the work, regardless, is what is so important. And St. Martin continues to strive for the highest level. We also received as government the midterm review of the St. Martin NRPB, the Reconstruction, Recovery, and Resilience Program, on November 15th. This report highlights the status of the trust fund projects and programs, and it's coherent. It concludes that the program is coherent in its approach and relevant to St. Martin, and that the objectives will be achieved, provided more time was awarded until 2028. So this has been approved, and we continue to work to achieve all of these for the benefit of the people of St. Martin. Even though we're towards the end of our hurricane season, I would like to remind the people of St. Martin, especially when we see it's not necessarily a hurricane or a tropical storm, but heavy rainfall during this season can cause serious damage to property, landslides, etc., flooding, as Minister mentioned, with our challenges with the pond. Please be vigilant, pay attention on a daily basis as well to the advisories from our Met Office and subsequent government reports that will come out. Stay prepared at all times. We are in a vulnerable situation, and climate change is not going to disappear at any time soon, even though the COP27 is ongoing at the moment, with great speeches being made. The actions by the persons or the countries that have the highest carbon emissions still have to have actions that help and assist us as vulnerable islands, small island developing states, to be able to battle against the ravages of climate change. So stay vigilant as families, as individuals, as businesses, to keep yourself and your family safe, and we will endeavor to ensure that information is timely to the public as well. I leave it there for now, Relaika, to give the members of the media present opportunity to ask their questions, and if there's time permitting, I might make one or two more announcements.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. Thank you for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session. The floor is open, and Bibi Hatshaw of SMN News, you have the floor.
Good morning, Relaika, and thank you. Good morning, ministers and colleagues. Prime Minister, I'd like to know if you can shed some light and if government was informed about the current industrial action that is taking place at the St. Martin Academy. While the Y2 did not say it's an industrial action, they have said it's a meeting, but based on the photos that I've seen thus far, teachers are protesting outside of the school because of the non-payment of the vacation allowance. What I'd like to know, government said on several occasions here that the full subsidy was paid to all schools since the pandemic to present. Have government met with the school board to iron out whether or not there is any monies owed to them by government? Because today there's an industrial action. We don't know how long it's going to take. And I believe next week examinations are planned. So in the end, it's our students are being affected. So I'd like to know if government know about this. I know the minister is off island, but you as Prime Minister, were you updated?
Thank you for the question. No, we have not received official word of any actions. I did, because here in the community, in the world, I did receive notice that there would be a sit-in this morning at the St. Martin Academy, based on information I received, a sit-in, whether it's for a meeting or protest, as you mentioned, based on the decisions made. I know that there has been some correspondence submitted by the FAVE to the minister, to the Council of Ministers, or to the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Education, in the way they are going to apply, or the proposal to apply the 12.5%. As you know, government stands on it, and a proposal was made. Whether the proposal is accepted, and now this is the reason for the sit-in, we'll get to hear about that as the day progresses. But as of now, I don't have the details. I know that the board did make a proposal, and the staff is apparently not happy with it. So I'll get an update, and then as soon as the minister is back, have him respond to that.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Bibi. Lyndon Brown of BCN TV, you have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are here and abroad. Question to the Minister of Justice. Minister of Justice is Minister of Vrooming. Minister, 2 Saturdays ago, the water that came from St. Martin flowed over the bridge at the Seventh Adventist Church in Sicklesgut, Minister. Well, the people are complaining and saying that something need to do to the waterway. Yeah, that going to from the fresh water pond to the sea, Minister. Are you having any consideration, Minister, of that? It is very serious, Minister. People could get drowned. It was terrible at the Seventh Adventist Church grounds with that barrage of water.
Thank you very much for your question, Mr. Brown. Indeed, as a government, we do acknowledge the seriousness of what took place. And part of my opening introduction, I also mentioned the fact that there were a lot of instances where household waste that was not disposed correctly blocked up the drainage. I'm not saying that that was the reason for that particular case, but this is a fact that happened around the island. And the fact is that we had a lot of rain, and it was constant for a short period of time. Therefore, we always, as a department, as a ministry, we're busy exploring different ways and means to strengthen our drainage network, and those plans are forthcoming. A couple months ago, I mentioned I brought forth and brought forth a press release in regards to a drainage plan, an island-wide drainage plan that we received. So these are steps that we're going to take in order to strengthen our resilience when it comes to these situations. Indeed, a lot could have gone wrong. Thankful to God it didn't. And as a population, I think that these are learning curbs for us as well. If you see heavy rainfall, please stay off the road. There were a lot of instances where cars were stuck because of, the heavy rainfall. So we try to avoid those situations. And also would like to hear again, thank the staff of the Ministry of Vrooming and all the different contractors that came up and cleaned the roads and cleared the way in record time. I wanted to mention that as well. Thank you for the question, and I hope that brings some clarity to you.
Thank you, Minister Duran. Prime Minister Jacobs.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add that with such heavy rainfall over that short period of time, it was almost impossible to avoid any kind of flooding. And so I think from earlier in the week, the Met Office had warned that the weekend would have excessive rainfall and that there would be cloud bursts and that it can cause serious flooding, especially in the regular areas. So I'd like the people of St. Martin to also realize that we do have areas that are low-lying areas. The area that where the bridge is coming off of Corralito Road into the Fresh Pond is an area that collects water from the basin coming from several hills. And so the drainage system from that area is fairly new. So the water will travel faster to the area. And then once it's been saturated, once the earth is saturated, even a small amount of rain can cause that. So the low-lying areas are always published. Keep up to date on where those are and avoid using those roads in heavy rainfall. That is something that as government we continue to say because preserving life is very, very important. And like Minister said, luckily lives were spared, but we can remember some years ago, I can remember in the middle of the hurricane season, there was a flash flooding that was not necessarily something you could warn about, and the situation became dire within 20 to 30 minutes. So within minutes, rainfall can affect your life negatively. So please, the Zager's Gut area is known to be an area prone for flooding. The Simpson Bay area, there are several other areas that are within the bulletins of the government of St. Martin, and I'll encourage DECOM to continue to highlight those as we go through the rainy period.
Minister Duran.
Yeah, well, the PM was talking, it just sparked some points in my mind. We saw a lot of doom and gloom being preached by certain individuals within the community, particularly a particular member of parliament. I'm glad that there was no loss of life, and it looked as if when things go good, some people try to find a way to bring negativity into it. Again, thank you to the staff because they come out 6 o'clock in the morning ready to go while everyone is home. And I think that should be at the forefront with regards to acknowledging their hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran. We now move on to the second round. Bibi Hatshaw, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika.
Before you continue, I would like to also announce this will be the last round. Bibi, you can go ahead.
Well, I'll get in my points, please. Minister Doran, picking up from the announcements you made, I believe during the week last week I called you and I asked you about the pumps. And today you're saying 2 pumps have to be replaced. So if I'm correct, there is no working pump at the moment, and you're now using or asking the fire department for backup. Can you tell us what timeline will it take for us to get the replacement of the pumps? What do you have an emergency response plan in place for the ministry? And yes, Minister, I personally saw some of the household garbage that were taken out of the drains, especially in Zakersgut. I personally saw 2 truckloads being taken from under the bridge. So when you're saying that there's household garbage, this is something I witnessed the day after. So what I'd like to know, though, the district cleaning bidding, just recently it was finished. How long will evaluation take, and what will be the timeline for the awarding of these contracts so that we can make sure that every area is clean and that when there is rainfall, that water can run off speedily?
I think that was like a combination of like 7 questions. I'll try to sum it together. In regards to the pumps, no, it is not correct that no pump is working. We have 2 pumps. One of them is totally down. The other one that is in the Vrummy yard is working but has issues. So it is functioning at the moment. There's also a mini pump, so to speak, in Sucker Garden that is functioning. And we asked for assistance to put an extra pump in the vicinity of the pump in Sucker Garden. So they're not working optimally, but they are functioning. We have our in-house mechanic, Mr. Marvin, who's working hard on a daily basis to make sure that it is functioning, him and the rest of the team. So that is where we're at now. With respect to the district cleaning contract, I see that a lot of people try to tie it in with the trenching and maybe because the trenching contract isn't issued why there was flooding. That has totally nothing to do with it because the trenches were clean, were cleared. Pictures were published already a couple of weeks ago, and those are being maintained once it's necessary. One of the issues that we face is, again, as I mentioned, the household garbage and certain instances where major rocks or certain, I think in Ebenezer, even part of a wall fell into a trench. So those are things that happen during the excessive rainfall. Those are things that are out of our control. We address it, assess it on a needs basis. And in regards to the district cleaning contract, which has nothing to do with trenches at all, that did elapse end of October, and the evaluation process will commence tomorrow in collaboration with SORB, as I mentioned, and the ministry, and hopefully that can be done within to be able to start on January 1st. And if need be, which in certain instances we have a plan in place to make sure that the island is clean for Christmas and any other event or any other time that is necessary. I don't know if I missed a point.
Yes, the emergency response plan. Do you have one?
Which in regards to?
For any disaster, anything.
That's a pretty broad question. You mean you're talking about for the pond overflows or?
Yes.
But that, as I mentioned, we are currently using the pumps that we have. Also, there's an additional pump that we were able to bring in via the assistance of the fire department. Now, if you have a specific question on disaster management, I'll then maybe ask PM if she could chime in. If not, then we can take the question and answer in writing.
Thank you, Minister Duran. Bibi, if anything, you can have that sent in writing so that you can get the response. Lyndon Brown, you have the final question.
Question to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, can you tell the people of St. Martin what is the status of the coalition government as I speak, Minister? Rumors are spreading that the government is falling and election might call before time, Minister. What do you have to say to the people of St. Martin on this aspect?
I believe we had a budget debate yesterday, Budget Amendment 2022 that went into effect. With everything else that happened, at the end of the day, 8 members of parliament that support this government remained there until late in the evening, seeing the importance of the budget for St. Martin. Some may not know, but with the budget amendments, we are then, once they are approved, we're able to access the necessary capital expenditure funds that the country so direly needs, because all of the things that we're saying we want, and need requires funds. And without an approved budget for such, we cannot spend such funds. We do not have access to such funds. That budget process has to go through. Amendments had to be made based on cuts that needed to be made, which hurt us. And it's unfortunate, of course, that politics continues to be played with what is important for St. Martin, but we do have a coalition of 8, and if anyone can do the math, 8 is a majority. We have lost support, yes, but we remain with 8, and we consider it stable enough to continue to govern. I've known of governments that were formed with 8, and that question doesn't come up every week. So, excuse me? Yeah, we also gained support, forgot to mention, while we were more than 8 with our original. So at no time was the government in any jeopardy, and that's why we sought to increase support during that period. I would like to ask the people of St. Martin to remain resolute, to remember that we are in the most difficult period that any government has ever had to face. Everyone can stop and throw rocks, everyone can talk, but to be in the kitchen feeling the heat is a different thing with limited funds and after inheriting a system that was broken for many, many years. And a lot of repairing need to take place. And when you want to repair, sometimes you have to change the culture, which is, has a lot of political ramifications as well. So that's the reality in which we're dealing. We continue to, as the Dutch say, roeien met de riemen die we hebben. We do our best with what we're given to ensure that the people of St. Martin are taken care of. Yes, we want to get the cost of living down. Yes, we want to deal with the schools that need repairing and other areas, people who are out of homes, people who are all living together. And that's why I say answer the census, because what we're finding is that more and more families are bunking up in one house. And that is a clear indication of an effect of cost of living. But we cannot establish what the cost of living is without the statistics, without the information that we require from the population. So I know I've probably gone in a different direction that your question wanted, but I think people of St. Martin who voted for us as members. Some of us are now on the executive branch, and this is the reality of our system. And what I pledge to you is continue to work. I came from a meeting, actually, with someone who is an advisor on electoral reform matters, and I will be continuing to champion changes that can be made still in advance of any new election. And when a new election is to be called, it will happen because government calls it, and we haven't done that.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Members of the media, viewing and listening public, this brings us to the end of the question and answer sessions. Members of the media, you can send any further questions to the minister's cabinet in writing. Honorable ministers of the council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. For rebroadcast, tune into St. Martin Gov Radio via 107.9 FM, Telemcell TV Plus, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and TV 15. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach and wishing you a pleasant day further.